On this channel, we spend most of our time talking about films that cost $100 million and made $40 million. Films where studios bet big, miscalculated, and paid the price. Today is different. A session cost somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million to make. It opened to $17.2 million, nearly double what tracking had projected. Then in its second weekend, it did something almost no film in modern box office history has done. It went up. It earned $23.9 million over the Memorial Day weekend, an extremely rare 39.4% increase over its opening. Then, in its third weekend, it went up again. If projections hold, it is tracking to become one of the first non-holiday wide releases in decades to post increases in both its second and third weekends. It is the lowest budgeted horror film to top the North American box office since Paranormal Activity in 2009. The film that launched Blumhouse. The film that rewrote what low-budget horror could commercially achieve. Obsession has now joined that conversation. Its worldwide box office currently sits at $148 million and climbing. Against a budget of under $1 million, that figure is almost difficult to process. Its theatrical revenue is more than 100 times its reported production cost. So today I want to dig into how this happened, starting from an $800 found footage film on YouTube and ending at the top of the box office charts. Let's get into it. Curry Barker is 26 years old. He grew up in Mobile, Alabama, with an interest in horror from a young age. He didn't come up through a studio development program or a prestigious film school pipeline. He came up through YouTube. Alongside his creative partner Cooper Tomlinson, Barker ran the sketch comedy channel That's a Bad Idea, which grew to over 1 million subscribers, using it to showcase his writing, his instincts, and his ability to build an audience around a very specific sensibility. That sensibility, dark, uncomfortable, laced with pitch black humor, would eventually become the commercial asset that no studio could have manufactured on his behalf. The pivot from comedy to horror came gradually. In 2023, Barker wrote and directed the horror short The Chair and uploaded it to YouTube, where it quickly attracted millions of viewers. That wasn't a film festival submission or a calling card sent to agents. That was a film released directly to a pre-existing audience of over 1 million people who already trusted the creator behind it. Then came Milk and Cereal, a 62-minute found footage horror film made for $800, released for free on YouTube in 2024. $800. The kind of budget that most short films struggle to shoot a single location on. Barker shot a feature for it and released it to the platform he had built from nothing. Film producer James Harris of T-Shot Productions reached out to Barker to adapt The Chair into a feature film. Barker pitched him on Obsession instead. The idea had come from an unexpected place. Barker has said the concept clicked after watching a Treehouse of Horror segment from The Simpsons tied to the monkey's paw, a cursed wish that comes true in the worst possible way. That's a genuinely interesting origin for a horror film. Not a pre-existing IP, not a studio mandate. A childhood memory and a dark instinct about what it actually means to get what you want. The film follows Bear, a lonely music store employee who uses a magical device called a one-wish willow to make his childhood friend Nikki love him. The wish comes true. What follows is not a romance. Production was kept tight. The budget landed somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million. Barker's through line from YouTube uncanny. Deeply discomforting horror streaked with pitch black humor expanded on that sensibility on a larger scale without losing the specific quality that had built his audience in the first place. Obsession premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in the Midnight Madness section, where it won first runner-up for the People's Choice Award. And then the bidding began. The film sparked a bidding war and sold to Focus Features for around $15 million, reportedly one of the biggest acquisitions for a genre title in TIFF history. To understand what that figure means, Barker made the film for under $1 million. Focus Features paid 15 times that just for the rights to distribute it, before a single marketing dollar was spent, before a single theater booking was confirmed. That's not a leap of faith. The studio was acquiring a film and a pre-existing fan base simultaneously. Blumhouse came aboard in December 2025, with Jason Blum backing Barker as the film moved toward its theatrical release. The same production company behind Get Out, Paranormal Activity, and M3 Gan was now attached to a film made for less than most people's annual salary. The combination of Blum's genre credibility and Focus Features' marketing operation would prove decisive. Tracking ahead of release projected an $8 to $10 million opening weekend. When it hit theaters on May 15, it defied expectations with a $17.2 million debut from 2,615 theaters. That's roughly twice what the industry expected. It finished opening weekend in third place, and then on its first Monday, moved to number 1. Then the second weekend happened. Over the Memorial Day weekend, the film earned $23.9 million, an extremely rare 4% increase over its opening weekend, representing one of the largest second weekend increases ever recorded for a modern wide release outside the Christmas corridor. For context, most successful blockbusters drop around 40 to 50% in their second weekend. A drop under 40% is considered excellent word of mouth. Obsession went the opposite direction entirely. The audience response appears to have translated into exceptional word of mouth, the kind that doesn't just recommend a film, but makes seeing it feel urgent. The third weekend is projected to reach between $25 million and $30 million, which, if it holds, would extend one of the most unusual theatrical runs in recent memory. This is the factor that separates Obsession from most low-budget horror breakouts. When Paranormal Activity opened in 2009, Blumhouse had to construct its audience through an aggressive grassroots campaign from scratch. Barker walked into his theatrical debut with over 1 million subscribers who had already engaged with his horror work and trusted his instincts. Focus Features wasn't just acquiring a movie. The studio was acquiring a film and a pre-existing fan base. That's a fundamentally different commercial proposition from anything the traditional development pipeline produces. Before opening weekend, Focus stoked excitement by crafting a commercial for One Wish Willows, the magical device at the center of the film, which reportedly generated strong demand online. The studio's marketing department then built on the buzz through cryptic billboards across Los Angeles and New York, featuring Nikki's increasingly unsettling and obsessive text, voice notes, and deliveries, alongside a phone number inviting people to reach out. That kind of immersive participatory campaign costs relatively little and generates the organic social media amplification that $100 million marketing budgets struggle to manufacture. An extremely rare second weekend increase doesn't happen because of marketing. It happens because people who saw it told everyone they knew to go. What's remarkable about the success of Obsession is that it proves Hollywood star power isn't always needed to get audiences into seats. Critics highlighted Inde Navarrette's performance as a particular standout, the kind of debut that changes what a career looks like afterward. The medium rewards tight storytelling, immediate audience feedback, and a precise understanding of what specific demographics respond to. Barker spent years getting direct, unmediated responses to his horror work from a horror audience. Like Jordan Peele, an idol of his, the 26-year-old writer-director got his start as half of a sketch comedy duo before transitioning into genre film. That's not a coincidence. The comedy to horror pipeline produces filmmakers with an unusually calibrated sense of tone, pacing, and audience expectation. Obsession didn't just succeed. It succeeded in a way that is being watched carefully by everyone in the industry. This is the dream scenario for movie theaters, one industry analyst noted. Rather than small screen being adversarial, it can be additive and complementary. If these YouTube creators can bring the audience from their laptop to the movie theater, that's huge. That observation is worth sitting with. Alongside projects such as Kane Parsons' Backrooms and Mark Fishbach's Iron Lung, Obsession suggests the beginning of a channel-to-cinema pipeline that the industry didn't see coming, one where the audience problem theaters have been struggling with may have a partial solution that arrived from an unexpected direction. The people who stopped going to theaters didn't stop watching films. They followed their favorite creators to wherever those creators were publishing. The question is whether those creators can bring them back. Barker is now one of the most in-demand young directors in Hollywood. As Obsession hit theaters, he closed his deal to write, direct, and produce a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot for A24, a project he landed with an extraordinary amount of creative control for a young director on a major IP. He went from an $800 movie to an A24 franchise deal in roughly 18 months. That's not a normal Hollywood trajectory. That's what happens when the work is genuinely good and the audience was already there. The rest of Hollywood is now asking the same question. Who else is out there making films for nothing on YouTube that nobody in a greenlight meeting has noticed yet? What do you think? Did you see Obsession? And do you think the YouTube to theater pipeline is the future of how studios find new talent, or is this a rare moment that won't repeat? Let me know in the comments.